Hello and welcome to Morum 2 Multiplayer. I am Southern Wolverine. This is my Carthaginian general and his bodyguard unit. They are riding the only horses in my entire army, and the reason for that is because our opponents in this particular battle are Partha and Royal Scythia. So I elected simply not to take horses. Instead, I have a line of pikes, 3 units of them. Now, we were on a smaller unit setting than I'm used to, so these units all looked kind of tiny to me. But in any case, I think these are the large unit settings. So I got the 3 pikes, as I was saying, and I have a unit of Carthaginian hoplites on either side of them, and that is my line. In retrospect, perhaps the 3 pikes at this one end and 2 hoplites on the other might have been better because my ally is Macedon and has a whole bunch of pikes, which I'll get to in a moment. The meat of my army that I expect to do a lot of my killing power is these 5 mercenary Cretan archers, and pretty much everything else is designed to protect them, because these are the units that are going to be able to reach out and touch the Royal Scythians as they are attempting to murder my entire army while circling with arrows and things like that. I have 5 Libyan infantry, or well, 3 Libyan infantry and 2 mercenary Samnites, and 4 late Libyans as a rear guard line. And I'll be very grateful for all of these units coming up. My ally has a number of thorax swords, 4, 2 companion cavalry. He's got a large line of pikemen. There's 1 unit of pikes and a lot of foot companions, like 4 units of them, I believe. Yeah. So very powerful pikes. His skirmishers, unfortunately, are mainly light peltis. He's just got 2 units. Actually, that's all they are. It's 2 units of light peltis. He kept going back and forth for a while on what his army composition was. So that's what he ended up with. Unfortunately, that's pretty much useless against the horse skirmishers that the Royal Scythians have brought a lot of. He's got something like 7 armored horse archers and 3 or 4 horse skirmishers. So I mean, just look at this cavalry horde. This is just a lot of horse archers. The plus side of that means he doesn't have quite as many of these, Scythian Royal Horse and Scythian Lancers, or whatever it is they're called. That's kind of tough to get excited about. Yeah, Steppe Armored Lancers, that's what I'm thinking. That's kind of hard to get excited about when all these archers are coming around. Fortunately for us, Partha has not gone with the cavalry approach. He did, of course, take this 1 unit of Indian armored elephants, which is one of the reasons I took Syrians instead of Balearic slingers. If I was only dealing with Royal Scythia, I would probably have taken Balearic slingers because they're going to knock them down faster. And he's taken a mostly infantry force, which is surprising for Partha. So a mix of Baktrian rear guard and thorax swords with 4 or 5, I think 4 Balearic or mercenary Cretan archers of his own. So the Scythian has seen what I'm doing and is kind of staying out of range. He's just sort of messing with me for the moment. My idea is to just lock him out, try to let him come in and fight against my archers, who will mess up even a superior number of units of horse skirmishers. Even those armored guys, the Cretans will wear them down. My ally has charged his 2 units of companion cav out, which, well, I wouldn't have. I would have held them back for counterattacking and flanking and things like that. You see, and this is exactly why, because the moment they leave the protective curtain of all the infantry, they just get swarmed by every one of these, non-missile cavalry units in the Scythian army. So they're going to pretty much die out here to little effect. Oh, I guess the Macedonians did have 1 unit of archers, but they're not going to really be able to do a whole lot. And those are the garden variety archers, just not all that dangerous. Not sure what these armored horse archers were doing. Maybe he thought he could break through or something, I don't know. But they're not going to stay with that fight for long. And meanwhile, more of these archers are circling around behind. He does not realize that I'm just going to turn my archers around. And these are just steppe horse archers. They're not even armored. So watch what's about to happen to this trailing unit. They are going to be absolutely just devastated by a single volley of Cretan archers. Look at that. Full strength, from 60 down to 14 men in a single volley. That is exactly why I have all these Cretan archers. And now, of course, key to my strategy, I've got these guys on do not skirmish manually, or do not skirmish automatically. I've got them in manual, just so that an enemy can't come up close and have me skirmish out in front of my pikes or something. That would be most unfortunate. So in any case, my ally is again sending out units to try to engage these guys, and I'm not sure what he was hoping to accomplish with this, because he's got these thorax swords out here. Now they're fighting a bunch of cavalry. They're getting shot in the back. I really would have kept all these guys home if I were him. Now they're going to do some decent damage out here, actually, particularly against these steppe armored lancers. You see these two units charge that first unit of thorax swords, who's getting kind of messed up. But the second unit comes in and actually was getting a winning decisively and did quite a bit of damage to those guys. So you see they're pretty well trashed. But in any case, I'm trying to stay disciplined and hold my zone and just keep my missiles fighting. Now the problem is these mercenary Syrian archers are now up on the hill engaging my infantry. So that means my Cretans have something else to worry about. Now the Cretans are slightly better than these mercenary Syrians, but I can't afford to focus all of my Cretans on these guys. I need them shooting at those cavalry. So he's gonna basically focus fire on this one African pikeman unit, trying to create a hole in my line, and not much I can do to stop that. I'm returning fire, but it's not going to kill them fast enough. I'm going to lose this pike unit, and really I'm okay with that, though. He would have been better off targeting my skirmishers. Like I said, that's the killing power of this army, given our opponents. So these Macedonian sword units tried to come out here and disrupt things, and again, I'm not entirely sure I understand what my ally strategy was. This was just a random ally, and he wasn't responding to me when I was making suggestions to him. And sure enough, these armored elephants are going to come over and help finish off the remainder of the thorax sword unit. This other unit was shattered by all these archers and things over here. Now, the Macedonian player is going to get this one unit of foot companions into position just in time to prevent cavalry from getting into our interior. And I'm going to start turning these Samnite warriors, which I sent over here, to guard his rear. And I'm going to use them to protect my archers and his. And very quickly, those archers... See how fast these archers, as soon as they get a couple volleys off, they just devastate these horse archers. Even in the Cantabrian Circle, they're going to wear them out pretty quickly. Now, the Cantabrian Circle will slow down the damage they're taking, which is why the Scythian player has gone and done this at this end, simply to take that out. Now, the Baktrian player has unfortunately gotten impatient or something, so he's charged right into the front. And his hillmen and things will do okay against these Carthaginian hoplites, but like these Eastern spearmen just getting absolutely devastated by these foot companions. And so he got a good number of spears thrown into there, which did some damage, but he's gotten all blobbed up on the front of these pikes now, and he cannot expect to break them. So this is where the swords are going to come in handy, and I'm just going to start flanking around him and try to pin him up against these spears. Meanwhile, the Scythian sees this frontal attack going on, or maybe they were talking, coordinating their plan, because he's come in. These armored elephants are over here trying to break through these foot companions, but they're taking a lot of damage from the foot companions. I got 2 units of Cretans in heavy shot, wearing them down. So these guys are actually going to fall fairly rapidly in this area. So look at that; they're already down to just 3 animals left. And my Samnites were able to hold against this charge long enough for me to bring help over. So I have evacuated my back lines at this point, either in flanking maneuvers like this, which is going to be just, brutal for the morale of these guys. See, there's like 4 units now here that are pinned between pikes and swords in the rear, so they're in quite a bit of trouble at this point. The Baktrian player is about to lose pretty much all his infantry. Now, because of all these maneuverings to counter their offensive actions, he is able to make use of this gap here and get a unit that's going to come in and hit my Cretan archers, they're still trying to shoot, but they are going to be taking a lot of damage now. They can't really expect to hold up, and they're really not what's going to be doing the damage at this point. The enemy have committed to a melee, and I'm just kind of reacting at this point. Pretty much everything is committed except for these couple of units out here. And he just seems to have gone around his foot companion. That's kind of funny, actually. I didn't see that when the battle was going on. But in this big kind of a brawl, these units simply aren't going to hold up against all the units that we've got in there. The Baktrians are completely routed. That was pretty silly of him to charge into the front of pikes like that. He'd have been better off focusing on me. I think the idea was probably for the Parthian to attack in the front, and or rather the Baktrian to attack in the front, and all the Scythians to attack from here and kind of break the Macedonian army. But it didn't work. I was able to support him. I was able to get a good flanking attack on. So, yeah, that battle was a little bit noob boxy for me. It's hard against. Look at all this. Look at all these horse skirmishers. It's hard to do much against that, other than to form a little noob box. I deployed by far the largest army. That's because I had a lot of these fairly cheap Libyan hoplites and things like that I was just using to flesh out. I knew they can hold against attacks. I was expecting the Baktrian army to be mostly cavalry as well, so I took very few swords, relatively speaking. I had 5 of them, but these are all fairly well armored swords. They can actually hold against a cavalry charge reasonably well. As long as they didn't take a charge from elephants, they were going to do okay. And look at this one unit. 2 chevrons, 261 kills. I got a brutal rear assault on the Baktrian infantry. And the pikes didn't do much, but they held the line. The Carthaginian hoplites actually had some decent kills. This was probably the unit that did the flanking. This was the unit that took the initial charge. But the Cretans were doing their job. They didn't get gaudy numbers, but they did knock out a bunch of the cavalry. They did help take out those elephants, and they forced the engagement, and well, it worked out. This Macedonian army just looks tiny, very few units. He kind of wasted his cavalry, as I said, and his swords as well. Very little damage, but he was able to get some good damage on some of these foot companions. This must have been the one fighting those elephants. Just took a lot of damage, but got the job done in the crunch, and those pikes held back that Baktrian assault rather nicely. Meanwhile, as I was saying, the Baktrian player just kind of bounced off, didn't do a whole lot. Really, his best units were his Syrian archers, and he didn't give him enough of a chance to really shoot it out with me, while my Cretans were unable to focus. These guys were shooting at infantry. If they'd been shooting at my Cretans, it might have turned into a very different battle. And the Royal Scythian army, again, had kills scattered across everywhere. The only really good kills were from these Scythian Royal Horse, which are very solid units, of course. And everything else was the horse archers were doing a decent job picking away at us, and they got their fair share kill on those thorax swords, I'm sure. Just not enough. That's one of the reasons I just brought a ton of guys, so I could hold all these cavalry at bay while my Cretans did their job. And you see, they did get pretty well messed up at the end. But by that point, by the time I lost containment on protecting my guys, we had advantageous fights going. The Baktrian infantry was getting destroyed, and a lot of these units had already absorbed charges from the Scythian cavalry, and the counterattack was underway, and we were just wearing them down. So by the time the Cretans really started dropping, it kind of didn't matter anymore. So in any case, thanks to Miguel IBZ, who was, I would have appreciated if he communicated a little bit more, sir, but thank you for playing. And a good game to our opponents, Norse Winter and Jacob561. So, if you liked this video, if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit the like button underneath the video, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, and have a good day.